Hello, hello, hello. So it's Sunday, I'm CJ. This week we are talking about the Orlando shooting, and this video is late. And this video is late because this is the sixth time that I have tried to make this video. Actually, in the past 2 weeks, I tried to make it for my personal channel and I tried to make it for here. I still got nothing. I still don't really know how to wrap my head around everything that went down, everything that's gone down since then. I'm also, as you know, I'm in England. We've had a very fucked up time the past couple of days, and the past 2 weeks have been hard in ways I did not even consider could be a thing. I grew up in the shadow of the nail bombing that happened in London in 1999. And that was really like my first exposure to the fact that being queer, being LGBT, being different in this way was something that upset people so much that they would want to kill you. I think I come from a slightly different place because my understanding of like microaggressions and the stuff and the horrible, horrible stuff that LGBT people have to go through every day is also accompanied by this sort of intrinsic understanding that to be different is something that can also mean to be dead. It's thrown me, and it's thrown me because this is a reminder of something that nobody wants to be reminded of. It's a reminder of this world that we live in right now and this worldview where people are allowed to do these kinds of things. The irony isn't lost on me that in the past, month, the videos that we've made have been about safe spaces and guns. This was the best example of how you can violate a safe space. I think what's thrown me this time is that when the nail bombing happened in London, there was no question of it being an LGBT attack. And I don't say that with like, I want it to be, this is a thing that I want. But there was an acknowledgement and a respect paid about the target of these attacks. And I don't think that's happened in Florida. I don't think that's happened in the coverage of Florida. I don't think that's happened in a lot of the reports about it. And there are two things that are really fundamental about what happened in Florida. I'm going to sidestep the gun issue because I can't go through that again. I can't go through the conversation about firearms. So if you want to speak about firearms, please, God, go have that conversation with somebody else. It was an LGBT safe space, and two, it was Latino night. And these are things that keep being erased from the story in a way that I don't understand why everybody isn't furious. I don't understand why this hasn't just been a thing that everyone is livid about. It makes me sick that the LGBT experience has been erased, but equally it makes me sick that the disrespect and disregard paid to the people of colour that were attending there and the fact that this was a safe space for a facet of the LGBT community. And if the straight world has erased the LGBT thing, I think an awful lot of LGBT people have to turn around and see that they've erased the race thing. And that we as white people, as white LGBT identified people, as allies, we ought to be standing behind our siblings and going, this is awful, but we stand with you. For me, the events of 2 weeks ago, they have just shattered something quite important inside of me. And I think a lot of that is to do with how I feel about community and how I feel about the LGBT world in general. Part of it is the coverage, which we don't have a huge say over. To then hear reports of white LGBT people disrespecting Hispanic people who have come forward to talk about the fact that race is an issue here is vile. And also, 2 days later, I went to a trans event and then had to deal with protesters outside, some of whom identified as LGBT. So I went from a space where I stood at a vigil on Old Compton Street in the heart of Soho and felt like we were a family and felt very much part of something and felt like we have each other's backs, to then actually a really harsh reminder that that's not true. This is one of those weeks where I don't have answers. I've got questions. I've got that sort of weird ache that goes on. Between Orlando and the British exit from the EU, the world doesn't feel particularly safe right now. I think it's okay to acknowledge that and to make sure that we put in place coping mechanisms for how we deal with that. Because that's the other thing about the impact of something like Orlando. I refuse to let people who do shit like that win. And I refuse to let the press win. I refuse to let this world win because I know that we can do better. And I don't necessarily mean you and me, but you and I. We can all, let's face it, we can always do better. But we have to make the world start to be the best version of itself. Because this version right now, it is like I've woken up in some dystopian novel and I don't really understand what's happening. That's okay to a certain extent. I think part of the thing about grief and solidarity and caring is you don't know. And so we muddle by. But I think we have to look really carefully at what we're doing and who we're talking to and how we're talking about things. Grief by itself can kill you. And anger without direction isn't going to do anything except make your life harder. We have to do something with it, because I can't, all about me, isn't it? But I can't live in this world when it's like that. The only option is to then try and change it. I have been heated to the point of boring when in the presence of straight people, and making sure that, people acknowledge that this is a thing that happened. Is to point out people of colour within our community are so much at higher risk than white people. And we just got to own it. It's really hard to own your privilege. And I got to tell you, I fuck up all of the time. But it's a thing that we have to acknowledge, of going, our lives are difficult, but they would be substantially harder if we weren't white, and that's important. We need to stand with the people in our community who are having an even harder time of it, and make sure that they understand and know that they have our love and support. And we just have to make sure that people don't forget. In the midst of all of this rewriting of history that happened, it was an ISIS attack, he was a closeted homosexual, or this is a thing that could happen anywhere, or, all of that kind of fucked up rhetoric that goes on. I think we just have to remember that he cannot be bigger than the 49 people who died. But we have to stand together. We have to stand together, because the rest of the world's out for us and we can't be out for each other. So that's it. That's all I have. I'm done. And I will talk to you next week.